Yes, if you're looking for football headlines, African football has enough of those football headlines on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly. And what we do on this show, on these two YouTube channels, CK Sports and the Pitch Side, is to try and bring those headlines in the comfort of your homes, on your phones, on your teles. We try to dissect them. We try to go behind the scenes to get you the gist of the matter. Greetings, welcome to these YouTube channels, CK Sports, together with the Pitch Side. My name is Clive Chaze, and also, as always, I'm here with Peter Tabu, and we look at the trending stories, football-wise, on the African continent. Of late, a lot has been happening in the East African region, but also we have something that just happened a couple of days ago down in South Africa, as the continent does brace itself for competitions both at club level and the national team level. So that is what we are going to be discussing, at least for the next 1 hour. And like I did say, I'm in a good company of Peter Tabu. And yes, Peter, greetings and welcome to today's show.
Thank you very much, Clive. And I really appreciate being here each time we sit and dissect a number of views on the African continent in football. Allow me appreciate everyone out there that takes their time to watch content on CK Sports and of course shares it wherever they do. Same for Pitch Side. We go together, so keep the love coming. We really appreciate that support, and this episode is one of many to come where we definitely dissect a lot of headlines in African football.
And of course, like Peter said, just a humble reminder to subscribe on this channel or on these two channels if you are yet to subscribe. But also remember to like, remember to comment, remember to share with your circles. We are interested in the subscriptions, but also in the comments. And yes, I would love some questions in those comments that can probably help us react, which keeps the conversation engaging than it is at the moment. So, Abid, I don't know where to start with. Probably the biggest story lately on the African continent is the fact that I should say 2 months, the continent will be hosting the Championship of African Nations, commonly known as CHAN. Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania will be co-hosting the tournament that will be starting from the 1st of February to the 28th of February 2025. Of course, this month we should be having the last phase of the qualifiers happening. But while that is going on, early this week, we got a bombshell. Breaking news from Kenya, which are yet to be confirmed or which are yet to be verified, because the Kenyan media, for them, they are very, very, very sure that Kenya will not be ready to host or to co-host the tournament alongside Uganda. And actually, they were reporting that CAF has already communicated to Rwanda. Rwanda is on standby, waiting for official communication from CAF that they will be replacing Kenya as the co-hosts alongside Uganda and Tanzania for the delayed 2024 African Nations Championship. But by the look of things, the government of Kenya is confident that they will actually be co-hosting this tournament. Just the other day, we had the inauguration of their local organizing committee led by your good friend Nicholas Mosonye, which was also attended, by the way, by a CAF official who assured them that they want very much the teams that win the bids to host CAF competitions to be the teams hosting these competitions. And is actually just giving Kenyans confidence that do whatever you have to do. This tournament should not go elsewhere, but should be happening in Kenya alongside Uganda and Tanzania.
Yeah, it's been a tough period for Kenya. The last 2 weeks or 3 have been really torrid for them because of what has happened in the media. You're right about top Kenyan sports journalists coming out to actually say that their nation may just not be able to host CHAN because of the situation at Kasarani and Nyayo. These are stadiums that are under renovation, and they don't seem like they will be ready with the remaining days left. And to be very honest with you, this is something that it can't be up for this is something that can't be just talked about and put there and decided at the end of it that it's going to happen or not going to happen. I think what determines Kenya hosting CHAN is the availability of the stadiums,
the competition venues.
Yes, and we all know that these venues, this is a process. It's construction. It has timelines, and sometimes if you've not set the right timelines, it could go beyond, the exact time when those facilities are supposed to be ready. If you listen carefully to some of the top Kenyan officials and even CAF officials, what is coming out from them is they are doing everything possible to make sure Kenya hosts CHAN. But there will come a point where they can't do anything.
True. Because
the situation is beyond their control. So they are right in every right for them to say, we are working around the clock, we are burning the midnight oil. I saw the Cabinet Secretary for Sports say that. I also saw the CAF officials say that. And the head of the CHAN AFCON, committee, Nicholas Musonye, said that. But what do you have on offer? None of those people speaking to the media are engineers. None of them have an experience in, how to, make sure that stadiums are ready. So you can.
Well, they are speaking depending on what the engineers have told them.
Yes, I wish the engineers would speak too. But then we all know you are in Kenya. You are at Kasarani. You will tell us if
only one engineer is allowed to speak. Afande Peter Chidamka.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes he's beaten the odds to make sure that Nambole is ready.
He walks the talk. Yeah.
Yeah, but on a serious note, I think it's going to be very tight for Kenya, and CAF is playing it very safe, because you do not want to wake up one morning having, trusted the three nations to host a tournament like that, and you're the same body coming out to, change or switch, hosts or co-hosts and bring in another country. I think it's playing it safe until the final moment. Deep down, CAF knows their plan B. And let's be very honest, CAF and Rwanda have a very good love relationship. They hosted the CAF not long ago.
The CHAN in 2016,
but also the CAF General Assembly, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the FIFA Congress.
It was the FIFA Congress. And you can see that doesn't just come to every country. You understand? So I know for sure that Rwanda and CAF have a very good working relationship, and it's just a matter of communication that we've done everything possible, but probably it's not within our means to make sure Kenya hosts.
Actually, also my sources in Rwanda have actually told me that it is true. CAF has written to the Rwandan government
and
asking them if they would be available to co-host this tournament alongside Uganda and Tanzania. Now, what my sources don't tell me is what Rwanda replied in their response to CAF. Probably that is what we are yet to establish to ascertain. But I was told that indeed it happened, because we were going, of course, to discuss Kenya launching their local organizing committee and the people on the local organizing committee. Yesterday, that should have been on Tuesday, at the inauguration of this local organizing committee, the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Kipchumba Murkomen, of course, was having an interaction with the media. And one of the journalists asked him that, when I, of course, was speaking, saying that we are going to host the tournament, so we are working around the clock, nothing has changed. It is Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
Yes.
They don't need to fulfill all the requirements of Kasarani. They just need to fulfill the basic requirements. The equipment that was coming in by water is now going to come in by air, so that they help the engineers facilitate the engineers so that they can finish their work in time. And then and we're not only talking about Kasarani, we are talking about Nyayo Stadium, we're also talking about the training grounds, by the way. And one of the journalists asked Murkomen if it is true that the CAF president has cancelled his visit. Remember, communication came in that the CAF president will be visiting Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania.
Yes.
In December. They didn't give us the specific dates, but they were like, he was going to visit the region in December to see the progress
of all the three countries.
But remember, before the CAF president visits these three countries, there are already CAF officials stationed in these countries
who give a brief,
who try to follow up, who try to supervise, and all that. So this journalist asks the Murkomen if it is true that the CAF president had cancelled his visit. He didn't say East Africa, but if he had cancelled his visit to Kenya. And Murkomen replied by saying that he spoke to the CAF president on Saturday, which is this Saturday we've just left behind, and he assured him that within the next 2 weeks, still not giving specific dates, within the next 2 weeks, the CAF president will be in the region. Remember, we have 3 weeks to end the month.
Yes.
And the deadline set for Kenya was the 31st of this month, which is December. So a lot can happen.
Yeah, a lot can happen. And in front of the media, you can play it safe and make it seem like you're working around the clock to make sure you beat the deadline. But there are things that are beyond your control.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I know Nicholas Musonye as one of the top football administrators in East Africa.
Should be on the continent.
Yeah, on the continent. Someone who ran CECAFA for 19 years. Single-handedly. I will get to how some of the interesting things that Musonye did, because we covered CECAFA while he was the Secretary General. But there are things that are beyond him. And this is one of the things. To be very honest with you, yes, we agree what they've said. They're burning the midnight oil to make sure the facilities are ready. What we have is time.
Or what we don't have.
What we don't have is time. But what they've promised us is these facilities will be ready after a specific period of time. So that's the time we have. And all we're going to do is watch on and wait. After 3 weeks, yeah, we'll definitely know if these stadiums are ready or not. But one thing is for certain, CAF have already covered up on their plan B. Amahoro Stadium is ready. It's being used every now and then in the league, in the Rwanda Premier League. They also have a training facility outside the Amahoro Stadium. So certainly Amahoro will be the venue.
And it's not only Amahoro Stadium, because remember in 2014, when Rwanda hosted this
2016,
I beg your pardon, when Rwanda hosted this tournament, they had 4 venues. Of course, Amahoro Stadium was the main venue, and we were talking about the old Amahoro Stadium.
Yes.
What was the main venue? In Kigali alone, they also had the Nyamirambo Stadium, which is now the Pele Stadium, which was an artificial turf. The other stadium in Huye, they also had a stadium in Rubavu. So they had 4 facilities. Okay, the one in Rubavu didn't really meet the standards because now times have moved on. But I thought that Nyamirambo does meet the minimum requirements for the CHAN tournament.
Though so it's artificial turf.
Yeah, so even at the stadium in Zanzibar, Amani is also artificial turf.
Yes.
So is the Huye Stadium, because at least in 2014, I covered games in all those different venues. The question is, have they been maintained since then? We know the state that Amahoro is in. Yeah. We know the state that Nyamirambo or Pele Stadium is in, because I think those are the 2 venues that are used most
in the Rwanda Premier League.
In the Rwanda Premier League, but also at national team level. So if the requirement is 2 venues, surely they have the venues.
They have the venues.
If the requirements is training grounds, surely they will pass that test. Of course, just like Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and the rest, and the others, things to do with hotel, transportation, security, and all that, you feel because it is Rwanda, it is covered.
Yeah, if Rwanda is one nation now in East Africa that you can't question in regards to security, if it's a sports event, in regards to organization and the facilities that are required. So that box they tick, and if you're able to tick that box in a tournament like CHAN, then you're definitely ready to host or co-host, that tournament. And not to forget that Rwanda also would really want to co-host CHAN. Why? Because recently they fell short in qualifying for AFCON, but they really had a very good campaign. Yeah, they had a very good campaign. They were a group that had Nigeria.
Hosting CHAN gives their team an opportunity to play international football.
Yeah, that's one. 2, you can see there is a bit more love now in Rwanda with the national team, which hasn't been the case for a very long time. So co-hosting CHAN was also an opportunity for the Amavubi to actually, still, have that bond with their fans and just see how far they can go. So for me, Rwanda would definitely be a good sit-in, so to speak, in case Kenya failed to make it.
So if the choice was in your hands, where do you want the AFCON? Where do you want who do you want the other co-host to be, Rwanda or Kenya?
I think of so many factors. When you're flying to Jomo Kenyatta, you definitely have to go to XYZ, wherever, quite a bit of time. When you're on the bus to Nairobi, it's almost quite a number of hours. Rwanda is just over here. a few hours and you're good to go. You can mean to travel to Rwanda and back to Uganda and go back to Rwanda in probably 3 days if you're watching 2 games. If you're a fan out there. In Kenya, it's a bit tight. The distance is there, let's be very honest. So that makes it a bit harder.
The distance is the question of the distance is when you're traveling by road. But if it is by air,
yes.
I think both.
No, by air, of course, yeah. Both countries are accessible by air.
I badly want Kenya to co-host this tournament alongside Uganda and Tanzania. I gave my reasons in the previous episodes. They have been in this dilemma opposition before. 1996 when they failed to host the Africa Cup of Nations, and 2018 when they failed to host the CHAN. And I keep on insisting they need to get that monkey off their back. The only way they can get that monkey off their back is by hosting this tournament. Of course, like you've said, it is not in their hands.
Absolutely.
They are the only thing that they have is in their hands is to make sure that the minimum requirements for those facilities by the 31st of December are met, because I don't think CAF will give them any more time if they have failed to beat the deadline of the 31st of December. But I love the confidence.
Yeah, I like it too.
They are speaking with, of course, just the other day, Tuesday, we had, because that was also the other issue that CAF was raising. They're like, the LOC in Uganda is already in place. The LOC in Tanzania is already in place. The tournament is less than 2 months away. Kenya, you are yet to present your own LOC. And I think we also hinted on it in the previous episode that probably they were waiting for the FKF elections that happened at Kasarani Stadium over the weekend. That was the 7th of December. Of course, elections that ushered in new leaders, something that we are going to discuss. But yesterday, Tuesday, the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Kipchumba Murkomen, inaugurated the local organizing committee. And of course, the main faces of that local organizing committee is Nicholas Musonye, former general secretary of the region, CAF, served in that position for about 19 years. And he will be deputized by Hussein Ahmed Muhammad, who is the new president of FKF, that is the Football Federation in Kenya. And of course, they have a very big team that they will be working with. So they come in at a time when so many things are not where they are supposed to be, and it is not their problem, because the things that CAF is requiring from Kenya facilities and all that, these are things that are solely being managed by the government. Yeah,
I don't know if I should start with the local organizing committee or how it's going to run. Kenya couldn't have chosen a better person to head the local organizing committee. Yes, for AFCON and CHAN, Nicholas Musonye is up there.
Who is a better person, the chairman of the LOC in Kenya and the chairman of LOC in Uganda?
I've worked more closely with Nicholas Musonye in my journalism career.
He's more on ground, okay,
than the First Lady of the Republic of Uganda. I would, however, look forward to work with the First Lady and give her my expertise.
Who's also the Minister of Education and Sports?
Yes, who is also the Minister.
So because of that title, she finds herself in the position of the chairman of the LOC.
Yes, absolutely.
Deputized by the State Minister for Sports, Peter Ogwang. In Kenya, they have decided to go the other way. You get an independent person to head the committee, deputized by the chairman of the Football Federation, supervised by the minister, of course.
Yes, but to Musonye, for 19 years, Musonye was the General Secretary of CECAFA, and in those 19 years, we saw, first of all, the CECAFA Senior Challenge Cup. There are some editions that were held that we can say were successful. The one Uganda hosted here in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. 2013.
The last one?
Yeah. No, the last one was 2019.
Was 2013. The one we won after 8 years.
Yes. Then there's another one of Jonathan McKinstry. We won here.
That's 2019.
2019. Yeah.
I think 2019 was when you had left.
He had left CECAFA. But I'm saying, for someone who really ran that organization, and how he ran it and the people he dealt with and his interrelation skills with all the people that he worked with, I feel that is just way enough experience for him to be in charge of the local organizing committee of Kenya for CHAN and AFCON. And whoever falls, whoever he works with, I'm pretty sure he knows who else can support him to actually execute a very good job. And I feel like that committee is in safe hands. Mr. Musonye is going to do everything possible to make sure that these tournaments are a success in Kenya, both CHAN and AFCON.
Of course, when I was giving a speech at the inauguration ceremony, one of the phrases that I picked out from the many things he said, he was an honest man, and he said, "It is true, we are behind schedule."
Yes, he actually said, I have visited Kasarani, I have visited Nyayo, and it is true we are behind schedule. But we are going to do our very best
to deliver a good CHAN and a better AFCON.
Yes, and one of the things that I know about Mr. Musonye, he doesn't miss his words. I remember Sekafa 2014.
Kagame Cup or Senior Challenge Cup?
Kagame Cup. And Simba and Yanga had pulled out. And he held a press conference.
Where was the tournament?
In Rwanda, in Kigali. And he said Simba and Rwanda can go Simba and Yanga can go to hell. This tournament will happen, teams will come and play in it, and the winner will actually be crowned. So they should not sit there and think because they're out of the Kagame Cup, everything is going to end here. So he really, really would bring it to the teams, and he would not even miss his words. Very, very open person, and very, very hardworking.
Very hardworking. Of course, the team that we did say is going to be working with, the other prominent name is Mohamed Hussein, who was voted the president of the Football Kenya Federation. I want to use a superlative in a landslide victory.
Landslide?
Because the requirements were that you meet, you get at least 50+1 of the votes. He didn't get that. I think he got 42 of 43. Then you had Doris Petra following him closely. Then you had Barry Otieno, the other, coming in with just 10 votes. And there was supposed to be a rerun where the top two teams, Hussein and Doris, were supposed to, delegates were supposed to cast votes again. And whoever gets to 50+ is declared winner. And during that period, Doris concedes. And she's like, she has conceded. She will work with the new president or the new. I don't know whether Nick Mwenda, her running mate, was endorsed the procedure of conceding, but she conceded. And of course, later, Barotieno also conceded. But regardless, the counting went on, and that is how Mohamed Hussein, alongside Donald Mariga, who will be his vice president, were ushered into office, taking over from Nick Mwendwa, whose reign, of course, we analyzed that and we said it had been filled with a lot of turbulence. And there was lots of celebrations when Nick Mwendwa took office 8 years ago. The same was happening when Ahmed Hussein and McDonald Mariga were declared winners. And they have promised that they will be able to walk the talk.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Mr. Mohammed and his running mate, McDonald Mariga. Mariga has struggled with elections. Ran, I think, for Kibra County or something like that in Kenya, and he failed or he lost. So yeah, an opportunity for him to, win. I mean, showcase what he's been talking about. It was a tight contest, without a doubt. But finally, Hussein came out on top. Now, Hussein did run for FKF president in 2011, but he was defeated. He refused.
That was that was the time Nick was voted?
No, that was before. Nick came in 2016.
Before, that was against Sam Nyamweya.
Yes. But in 2016, Nick came in. Then, of course, those subsequent elections, Mohammed felt that it was not right for him to run because the system did not exactly really favor him, and so he stepped aside. But this time around, he decided to come in and run, and you can see the message was trying to portray out there was one, restructure the FKF and Kenyan football, restore a very vibrant Kenya Premier League, and also help the national team.
He has rallied corporate companies to come out and support.
Absolutely, again. And also restore the pride of the Harambee Stars. Now there is no better person
First, hold on. What pride?
In their own right, they had
two appearances at the Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah, they want to do better. Probably want to go to the World Cup.
There is no pride for them.
Or probably win the AFCON, or probably reach the finals of the Cup of Nations. And they've had talented generations over the years. Let's be very honest. At some point the
generations or individuals, Peter. They have had generations with talented individuals.
I think the Kenyan team that stopped Uganda from qualifying was a very talented generation. You had Dennis Oliech, you had McDonald Mariga, Victor Wanyama was still young. Yeah, but you could clearly see.
They just spoiled a party, but they never really went anywhere.
But you would see it was a good team. It was a good team.
It was a good team.
It was definitely a good team. So, of course, he has a lot of work to do now. He's in office. He comes at a time when Kenya is going to co-host CHAN and AFCON, and we all know what we've talked about CHAN and their troubles of being ready for. We've talked about Kenya and their troubles of being ready for CHAN
as hosts.
So that's an issue. The Kenya Premier League, yes, they have Azam as their league broadcaster, but they've not exactly been organized. The Kenya Premier League that had Gor Mahia win, a number of titles back then when Khalid Aucho, Godfrey Walusimbi, Godfrey Baba.
They had a coach, Frank Natal, coming in after Bobby Williamson.
Yes, that period, the Kenya Premier League was one of the most sought after leagues.
Very vibrant.
Very vibrant, very exciting. You'd look out for, the derby between Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards.
This season, the first leg has not happened because there was no venue to host it.
There's no venue. So now those are things that he's going to work on. One of the things that I've heard they're trying to do is return the KPL to the management style it had back in the day when
the clubs were running it.
Yes, when the clubs were running it, the clubs that are in the top flight. And I think that is very good, because if you give them the independence to run the league, then they make their own decisions and all of that, which hasn't been the case. FKF has always, poked their noses in the Kenya Premier League and how it's run, which I feel in the long run has affected the product.
Nick Munda was trying to borrow a leaf from his neighbors in the West. and he failed miserably.
Yeah, so you feel that he has a lot of work cut out. But the fact that McDonald Mariga is right behind him, I'm excited to see what Mariga is going to do, especially with helping Mohamed in some decision, making situations with, first of all, how the league should be run, how, the structure should be done.
What expertise does he have in that direction, apart from playing at the highest level in Europe?
Well,
those are two different things.
Well, I know there are two different things, but you didn't win the Champions League, Clive.
I mean, Eto'o won the Champions League. People in Cameroon are saying, what were we thinking getting this man into office? Winning the Champions League does not make you a good administrator, Peter.
I agree, but I'm saying that there has to be a starting point for some of these ex-players to actually swim in the waters. Because if they don't swim, then there's no way they're going to learn.
This is the difference between ex-players on the African continent and their counterparts in Europe. The first name for me that comes to mind is Edwin van der Sar.
Yep.
Played at the highest level for the national team and at club level. Today, he is the chief executive officer at Ajax.
He left the role.
Okay, he left the role, but at one time he was. And they didn't just plant him there. He actually went and studied and mastered the art of being a chief executive officer of a football club like Ajax. All those, and we are focusing only on those who are into administration. They go back to school and they study what it takes to be a good administrator. Now, their colleagues back home in Africa, they want to ride on, I was a very great player. I was a 4-time African Footballer of the Year. I'm a 2-time African champion. I won the gold medal with Cameroon in Sydney. I won the Champions League with Barcelona. I won the Champions League with Inter Milan. And because you're riding on your fame you had when you're still a footballer, people think that he is the right person to come and do the job.
This is how I look at it, Clive. Our European counterparts or the European market has structures, and most times most of these ex-players are brought back into the system from where they were. So they then rejoin. Look at Michael Essien. He's played from wherever, and now he's in North Zealand. I think as a coach or a youth team coach or something like that.
If they can do that, I'll sorry to cut you short. Still, our African brothers and all that. If they can feel the need, because if you want to be a football coach, you're never going to coach football without qualification.
Of course.
They'll go back to school to study how to be a coach.
But
you don't hear so many of them going back to school to study how to be
but they still want to be the setup.
But they want to be administrators.
And I think the fact that we have a challenge of not having enough resources back here, which enables some of these
resources are in Europe
to actually go back and study.
The resources are in Europe.
I feel like if someone has the opportunity to actually get into a system that is organized and structured and he can learn, I think that's not a bad thing. Where McDonald Mariga is right now,
being vice president of Kenya Football Federation or any position at that level, there is no room for you to come and learn on the job, especially if you don't have training coming into that position.
I think he can use some of that knowledge that he got wherever he played from in Europe, and even when he retired, to actually try and be a better football administrator. And it's not like he's going to make all these decisions on his own. I think they sit as an executive committee. They also sit as delegates and make decisions on some of these things. So that is why I expect.
On our previous, and it's another example that I want us to expound on our previous episode. That was before the elections. I gave an example of Kalusha Bwaria in Zambia.
King Kalu.
An example that you actually dismissed. But if you followed Zambian football at the time when he was at its home, you saw how he miserably failed. There was a time when he was the president of FAS, he was the TD, and he still wanted to be in charge of coaching the national team.
If you go back to...
He was kicked out. But, I mean, a man of his stature as a footballer, like you've just said, King Kalu, I mean, he's not only a Zambian great, but a great of African football. He came in there and things didn't go as people had planned. I thought that they would have gone. But he went in there riding on the fame and the status he had as a footballer, and also the respect he commanded across the continent in retirement. And the delegates in Zambia thought this man should be able to do the job. I gave you an example of Samuel Eto'o in Cameroon and how he's running things and stuff like that. And you're like, this man went to Europe when he was 17 or 16. He has played nothing but for the best clubs in Spain, England, and Italy. I mean, with all that exposure.
The King Kalu reign had interference from government a bit, to a certain extent. Not to say it's an excuse, but also that Zambian generation, after winning AFCON 2012, Zambia.
He was the president when they won 2012. Yeah, he was.
Yes, he was. Zambia just didn't have a good youth setup, or so to speak, that allowed younger players to join the national
team. The challenges weren't with the national team being competitive. The challenges were with how the game was being run.
I think all those factors made it hard, really made it difficult for him to have a successful reign as president of FAS. But it doesn't take away the fact that he worked himself, he worked so hard to make sure that Zambia returned on the African continent as a strong team. But maybe after that is where the challenge came, because so many qualification campaigns happened, but you would see Zambia were really falling short until the Patson Dakars came in, and that's how they've tried to evolve now and even going and join AFCON and stuff. So that is how I look at it, Clive.
Of course, now fast track or back to where the discussion was stemming from in Nairobi. And for me, the other example I also want to give, and I will bring it back home here in Uganda. Some of the most poorly run football clubs or institutions in Ugandan sports are owned by people who are successful businessmen privately. And you don't become a successful businessman by running things in an amateur way. You run things in a professional way.
Professional way.
And my question has always been, why is it hard for them to run these clubs professionally? They run their businesses professionally. Those businesses are successful. Why is it hard for them to run those clubs
professionally.
Hussein Mohammed is a successful businessman.
Yes.
In Kenya. By being a successful businessman in Kenya, and of course with all the exposure of professionalism and all that, you will expect him to get in there and run things the way he runs his business, because he also wants to be successful as the president of Kenya Football Kenya Federation. He also wants to leave a legacy as the man who turned things around. You might say he has 8 years to do that, but he has 4. Probably whatever he does in these 4 years will determine if the delegates give him another mandate, which will be the last term for them in office. So personally, I want to feel that work is cut out for them, but also they should be able to learn from the mistakes that have been made by people across the African continent, also in Kenya in particular. 2016, the year when Nick Mwenda won that election, there was a lot of excitement.
They call themselves Team Change.
You talk about FIFA. The FIFA bans came in because of what we call government interference. Government interfered because there were things that he was supposed to do that he was not doing. And he always thought that he will hide behind FIFA. And that is what always FIFA does, protecting its members, even when they are being indisciplined at national level. So we expect that probably they can be able to start a new dawn and just start on a clean slate and rebuild Kenyan football, like how Mamelodi Sundowns was saying in that inauguration ceremony, that their focus is rebuilding Kenyan football again to take it to where actually it is belong, or rather where it belongs.
When you look at the region, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, I think Kenyan football has been the most pegged back with what they've had. Apart from the bans, the league hasn't been as vibrant. You struggle to remember the last time Gor Mahia produced, a top talent that many people are looking at, or a run where they really went on the continent and probably put up a show. So they've had so many problems, and I think Mohamed Hussein has, like you said, yes, work cut out, but that should be a lesson for the new leadership in FKF to actually do to really go into overdrive and do well for the federation or for Kenyan football, because I feel they've gone south all these years, So it's a new dawn. It's an opportunity for them to clean up the mess and start from a new slate and help Kenyan football return to where it belongs.
Yes, and of course, our good friends in Kenya, David Kwalimwa, I know you're watching. Jeff Chinyanjui, I know you're watching. The next time we come to Kenya, we want to have a sit-down conversation with Mohamed Hussein. It's a request that I'll make official in writing, but I'm first making it
and
here.
Mariga.
Usually it is the president. Yes, we know the vice president is more famous than the president, but it won't make a lot of sense when you're sitting down with the VP, yet you should be talking to the president. Of course, that is something that is on my bucket list in the year at 2025. But Peter, away from there, let's just come back here closer to Uganda. African football, in this case Uganda, has always faced a challenge.
Yes.
Of infrastructure, sports facilities, and all that. But I don't want to actually call it a challenge, because you think about all the facilities that are usually constructed on the African continent when major footballing tournaments or major competitions come around, and they turn into white elephants once those competitions are done. A case in point are the 2 or 3 facilities that were constructed as Gabon were preparing for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations, particularly the facility in Oyem, the one that Uganda played their last group game against Mali, the one and 3-4 years ago we saw pictures of it, and it was in a very, very terrible state. And I saw the beautiful facilities that Ivory Coast used for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations that was early this year. Very beautiful facilities. You don't want them to probably turn into white elephants 2-3 years down the road. The facilities that Cameroon used for the Africa Cup of Nations. 6 beautiful facilities, but then people were telling you that they rarely play league games in those facilities, and the question is like, how do they maintain these facilities? So I feel that it is just a matter of time that these facilities will turn into white elephants. In 2017, when KCFC played against Agosto in the preliminary round of the CAF Champions League, the return leg was played at that November 11th facility, which was their main facility for the 2010 Africa Cup of Nations. It was the opening game and the final. And I remember going to sit in the media tribune of that facility. And the entire place, first of all, the tables and chairs were dusty. The entire place was filled with cobwebs. The tables had started deteriorating, not because they are being used or all that, but because they are poorly maintained. And this is the main facility of Angola, but the state it was in, that is now for the media tribune where I said it was in a sorry state. So there's always been that. I want to feel that the challenge is not us having facilities. The challenge is us not looking after the facilities we have. Today there is renovations going on at Kasarani Stadium in Kenya. There are renovations going on at Nyayo Stadium in Kenya. But you feel if there were a plan to maintain those facilities from the onset, the renovations that are happening now probably wouldn't be happening because there have been clear maintenance. Not only the main facilities, but also these other facilities. The Kasarani indoor facility, personally, I feel it is at the same level like the BK Arena in Kigali. But because the BK Arena is brand new, there's that excitement and all that. But you feel, much as this one was constructed in 1987, if it has been well maintained and looked after and all that, it would equally be at the same level with the BK Arena. Because before the BK Arena was constructed, you feel the Kasarani Indoor Stadium was actually the best indoor facility in the region, even in its sorry state. Now, what I'm driving at is this week should have been on Saturday. Friday, but the announcement came out on Saturday. Uganda signed a contract with Asamka, that's an Egyptian construction company, for them to construct a sports facility in Lira City. This is northern Uganda, 6 hours by road away from Kampala, which is the Akibwa Olympic Stadium. It will be a 20,000 capacity seater with a running track. It is going to have 2 outside pitches with running tracks. It is going to have an indoor facility. It is going to have a semi-Olympic swimming pool of 25 meters, amongst other things. And we are told that this facility is going to be done within 20 months, and the government is committing $129 million for this facility. First of all, for me, the big question is the facility happening. Will we consider it for the Africa Cup of Nations alongside Hoima City and Mandela National Stadium? But also, once this facility is commissioned, done and dusted, what should be done to make sure that we actually maintain it? What should be done to make sure that it is developing sports talent in northern Uganda? Because it won't only be doing football activities. If you're talking about the indoor, you're talking about indoor sport. If you're talking about the main running track and 2 other running tracks, you're facilitating track athletes, but you're also actually facilitating field athletes. If you're talking about a semi-Olympic swimming pool, you're also giving an opportunity to develop swimmers.
Yes. I think the one challenge that we know we've faced in this country that has not been prioritized is facilities in the regions. Because if we had more facilities in the region, we would definitely have more talent coming through in whichever sports discipline. It's a very good thing for the Akibwa Olympic Stadium to be considered to be built. 20,000 seater. Yes. I mean, first of all, why is it good? Because one, Akibwa is, you're looking for Ugandan legends in sport.
He's up there.
And Akibwa is up there. But to think that he only has a road or a lane, at most named after him in Kampala, and not a very, very well built sports facility is really not a good thing. So in remembrance of Akibwa, who won Uganda her first gold medal at the Olympics, it's definitely a very, very good thing. That's one. Two, the northern region also gets the opportunity to have a facility where probably they all converge and, you know, talents grow from there. I want to move to the point of these facilities decaying and, you know, getting
because
out of
they are
shape.
not being looked after well.
Yeah, what we need to appreciate, first of all, as government is, yes, these facilities are built, but they also have to be looked after. You've heard of the war of words between some members of parliament and the president about creating new districts. And this has gone down to the district officials saying they're not receiving any funding, because if you create a new district, a new municipality, you know, there has to be a budget for that to run. There are people who work there, the resources that are recorded, that are required, and things like that. So if none of that is done, that is what you find, that you reach, you go to a new district that has been created, and the services are literally not there. So it's the same thing with sport. If they're putting up facilities, then they definitely need to know that those facilities need to be catered for. But also, you feel like if, let's say it's the Akibwa Olympic Stadium in Lira, the surrounding areas, you definitely know, one, there has to be a football team or football teams that are going to use that facility. There are athletes, there are swimmers, there are, you know, basketballers.
Oh, the football teams will be required to hire those facilities.
Yes,
because National Council of Sports will tell the management team in charge of the facility that we want that facility to generate
which is the right thing to do. The only challenge
is the football teams or whoever would want to use the facility are broke.
That's what I was going to say. The only challenge is that the teams that would require to use these facilities would be unable to actually hire the facility. That goes back to the resources government gives to, first of all, the district and the local leaders there. And I feel that is what should help to actually maintain this facility as these teams grow. Of course, if you get a team that plays in the Uganda Premier League, they should be able to contribute to some money to actually maintain that facility. And you also have national events that happen there. Maybe the Uganda Athletics Federation takes trials there. Maybe you have a boxing event happening there. Maybe you have a concert and stuff like that. And these other avenues.
You have less football tournaments happening. National team Chan under something.
Yes,
you take them to those facilities.
Exactly my point. So maybe you can balance the books from there. But the most important thing is, in as much as government is trying to put up these structures and sports facilities, in the same vein, they should be able to plan for maintaining these facilities. If they don't do that, then there should be
the maintenance of the facilities comes with the facilities generating revenue. Today we don't have a team in the Ghana Premier League using Namboard as a facility because they feel Namboard is too expensive for them, which is understandable, but then it probably means that people now need to start thinking outside the box, because if you're going to develop talent, you will need the best facilities.
Yes.
And government is saying that we're actually going to have this in place. Hopefully they deliver in the 20 months, because the 20 months you're talking about around August, September 2026. That is just in time for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Hopefully by then, the Hoima City Stadium, which is also now being constructed in Hoima City, will also be ready or nearing competition. That means that Uganda will, at around that time, will have 3 facilities alongside Namboole that meet international standards. Does that mean that to get Namboole, Hoima City, we should also probably have Akibwa Olympic Stadium being considered for the Africa Cup of Nations, since the initial plan was for each of the East African countries to deliver 3 facilities, much as only 6 are needed for the competition. A minimum of 6 are needed for the competition.
If we are to go by what the state sports minister and the first lady said during the commissioning of the Akibwa Olympic Stadium, where she handed over the land title, it will be very good for Akibwa Stadium to be completed before AFCON. That would definitely be more exciting, because then we have 3 stadiums available: Hoima, Akibwa, and Mandela National Stadium. And who knows, maybe by that time things have changed with the AFCON.
Well, we'll need a standard
AFCON
hotel
tournament.
in northern Uganda. So.
But stadium alone is not enough.
Yeah, it's not enough.
You need a standard hotel. You need an airfield. I don't understand airport because
the closest is Gulu.
Yeah, because that would be a bit huge. But an airfield where and then of course transportation from the airfield to the stadium.
Transportation is okay.
So those are
things can be managed.
Yeah, that can be worked on if they are available. That's a big plus for Ugandan football to have 3 venues available. And it's for me, it would be something I would welcome.
Of course, today, depending on where you're watching the show from, it is the 10th of December, 2024. It is a Wednesday, and the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be or is going to commission. Is it commissioning or
commissioning? Phase
1 of the Stephen Kiprotich High Altitude Training Center in Buko. That's northeastern Uganda. Now, this thing has been under construction for the last 14 years. And you can imagine after that long period of time, they are only, the contractors are only delivering a phase 1 after 14 years.
Yeah, bureaucracy in government, isn't it? To make sure that some of these things are done on time affects the schedule. I mean, what's his name? Joshua Cheptegei has also decided to have his own high altitude training center. I'm pretty sure it's ahead of schedule, than the Terriet. But nonetheless, you appreciate that the government has taken that effort to make sure that it commissions the place. That means it's now open, it can be used. That said, other projects should not take that time, because if the Kibua Stadium and Hoima Stadium take the next 4 years to be completed, then we shall watch that AFCON in Nairobi and Tanzania, which is not a good thing.
Yes, so, as we finalize, something happened in South Africa, where they should be the most successful football club in the history of South African football, Mamelodi Sundowns. In a space of 6 months, they have another coach, Portuguese Miguel Cardoso, coming in to take the reins at Mamelodi Sundowns as they tried to turn things around. Not very happy with their performance in the CAF Champions League. 2 draws in the 2 games they have played. They are always very dominant in the league around this time, much as it is early stages. It is not the case, but you felt it was unfair on the coach. The name is very hard for me to pronounce. Maybe you will help. 22 games played, 2 losses and 2 draws. You thought he was doing okay, but the management is like, it's not good enough. They are letting him go together with a goalkeeping coach, and they are bringing in a Portuguese who will be working with a Steve Kompela together with a Kennedy Mwene as the goalkeeping coach with the entire backroom staff. Yeah, so
Sundown decided to make the call to sack coach Mankoba, who overall, by the way, has been at that club for over 22 years, for about 22 years, which is a very, very long time. He's been part of Sundown's, you could say, highest points. When they won the Champions League in 2016, when they went to the Club World Cup under Pitso Mosimane, and of course whatever they won, during
domestically,
everything that they've won. Robinson Wendell, the goalkeeper coach, has also been a part of
actually for him, he wasn't sacked. I was told that the plan was, he actually planned to retire.
Yes.
So I was told that the plan was there to let him go. There, I thought they should have given him a better send-off.
Yes.
That is why actually Kennedy Mwene was integrated into the goalkeeping department as a coach, because they were planning for the exits of the goalkeeping coach.
Yeah, but I think the turning point for Coach Makoba was when Sundowns failed to win the Carling Black Label Cup. They lost to Magesi, newly promoted team. In the Ugandan context, it's like Vipers winning the league last season. Then they play a knockout final and lose to Lugazi FC and lose terribly, because they lost 2-1. You could see they were really convincing. And after that, you mentioned the performance in the Champions League. Sundowns have drawn with Maniema, which is playing for the first time on the continent in the Champions League at home, and away at First Rabat. Those are the 2 points that they have. Well, the other the other teams in the Champions League have also exactly not started off brightly. But you want to think the Sundowns hierarchy wanted to really start, start on a high. And considering that last season, Sundowns were eliminated in the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. They lost to Esperance, coached by their new coach now. Miguel Cardoso was the head coach at Esperance. They beat them, I think, 1-0 away and lost 1-0 in Pretoria. So that was too much pain. And last season is when they felt like they were really inching closer to winning the Champions League. But they fell short with Rulani Mokoena. So it's not been a very good run for Coach Makoba. That's why they decided to turn the pages. For me, I feel it's good that Kennedy Mwene has been retained. It's also good for Steve Kompela. I think he's the guy they can put out there in case Miguel doesn't show up, to help the team perform better. So they have a backup plan there.
Which team has he helped perform better?
Who?
Kompela.
Kompela hasn't really.
Man has struggled.
It was. I think the highlight was at Chiefs, where he spent 3 years and they didn't win anything, and he was sacked.
They
After
struggled.
that,
when you say they didn't win anything, you don't paint a clear picture. They struggled throughout the 3 years.
Yeah, they struggled throughout the 3 years.
And I also thought that the appointment of Miguel Cardoso was also in preparations for the FIFA Club World Cup
now
at the end of the summer.
For Miguel Cardoso, if you look at his CV, you can see the direction Sundowns are taking. He's been an assistant at Braga in Portugal, Sporting Club de Portugal. He's been in the youth setup of FC Porto and a couple of other teams. So he has that European touch that he comes with on the continent, taking Esperance to the final.
The Brazilian philosophy that they want to play with.
Last season they lost to Al Ahly in the final. But you can see on the continent he has an idea. In Europe he also has an idea. So the FIFA Club World Cup, of course, is in sight. That's what they want to. They want to go there and not just show up. They want to go there and try and win games. They of course will not win the tournament because they are top teams, clubs in the FIFA Club World Cup. But you want to go there and try and shake a few trees here and there for you to get talking points. So, anyways, it's an end of era for the Sundowns coach. But I'm pretty sure he'll bounce back in the PSL. He'll definitely have a team that he will manage. But yes, Miguel Cardoso is the new head coach, taking the team forward. And the target is very, very clear. At least reach the Champions League final.
Yes, sir. Peter, as we get out of here, what should our viewers look out for?
We will definitely look out for the CAF Champions League. It's happening this weekend. Teams have not really had a very good run thus far. Yanga is in...
Yanga yet to win a football.
Yeah, they are in Congo. They're taking on TP Mazembe. Orlando Pirates, who drew with Al Ahly 0-0, are in Ivory Coast. They take on Stade Abidjan. So you think that is definitely going to be some of the things that people should watch out for this weekend, and wait and see how that transpires. Simba are at home after losing to Constantine in the CAF Confederation Cup.
In that game they scored first.
They scored first and then they lost 2-1. So that's it. And then of course keep your tabs on our handles and YouTube, because we shall be updating you on the CHAN progress. We are here talking about Kenya, but we are going to come back with an update of Chambogo and Kadiba. And break it down for you, because the last time we went to Chambogo, me and Clive agreed that let's be patriotic
for the good of the country.
For the good of the country.
We are going to commit treason.
Yes, so we decided not to do anything. But kid you not, we definitely are going to give an update on that. Just like we're talking about Kenya. Uganda already has Namboli and the outside training pitch, but we are yet to get an update on Kadiba and Chambogo, which are the two facilities that are also part of the CHAN tournament preparations.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. That's all the time we had for you on this episode that looks at or focuses on African football. Remember to subscribe on CK Sports and Pitchside, where this show is going to be published. But also remember to comment, remember to like, but also remember to share in your circles. Clive Chaze is my name. I've been with Peter Tabu. Until we meet again, have a blessed day from wherever you're watching us from.